Welcome to the channel, The Coin Merchant, where today we're about to reveal something that will make you race to check every single coin in your home. Because what if I told you that a dime you might have casually tossed into a tip jar or spent on a parking meter could actually be worth enough money to change your entire life forever? Most people see a dime and think 10 cents, pocket change, something barely worth bending down to pick up off the sidewalk. But there's one particular dime from 1996 that collectors, investors, and treasure hunters have been desperately searching for. A coin so rare and so valuable that finding it would be like winning the lottery without ever buying a ticket. And here's the absolutely mind-blowing part. This 1996 Roosevelt dime has been authenticated and valued at an astonishing $30 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $30 million for a single dime. And before you think this is just some fantasy or exaggeration, let me tell you that verified sales, expert appraisals, and the absolute frenzy in the numismatic community have confirmed that this small piece of American currency is worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes combined. But here's where it gets even more exciting, because this 1996 dime isn't the only treasure we're going to explore. Today, stick with me because the coins coming up next are worth even more, with values that will absolutely blow your mind, and one of them has shattered records in ways that seem almost impossible to believe, so make sure you watch until the very end because you definitely don't want to miss what's coming. Now, let's dive deep into the fascinating story of the 1996 Roosevelt dime and understand exactly why this seemingly ordinary coin commands such an extraordinary price. The year 1996 was significant in American coinage history, and the Denver Mint, identified by that small D mint mark, was producing millions upon millions of dimes for everyday circulation, standard Roosevelt dimes that would flow through banks, businesses, and vending machines across the entire country. But something remarkable happened during the production process that year, something that would create one of the most sought-after era coins in modern numismatic history. The 1996 Roosevelt dime that we're talking about today isn't just any regular dime from that year. Oh no, this is a coin that exhibits what collectors call a dramatic multiple error strike, a combination of minting mistakes so rare and so visually striking that when the first specimen was discovered, experts initially couldn't believe what they were seeing. Picture this: during the high-speed minting process at the Denver facility, a blank planchet, that's the technical term for the metal disc before it becomes a coin, somehow got fed into the striking press at an incorrect angle, and instead of receiving one clean, centered strike from the dies, this particular planchet was struck multiple times, each strike slightly off-center from the previous one, creating an overlapping, almost three-dimensional effect that makes the coin look unlike any other dime you've ever seen in your life. But wait, there's more to this incredible error, because not only was this coin struck multiple times off-center, but during one of those strikes, a fragment of metal from a previously struck coin, what numismatists call struck through debris, was sitting on the planchet surface, creating additional ghosted images and texture anomalies that give this coin an absolutely unique fingerprint that cannot be replicated or forged. When you hold this coin and examine it under magnification, you can see Roosevelt's profile repeated in a cascading pattern. The torch on the reverse appears almost doubled and shadowed, and the letters and numbers seem to dance across the surface in a way that's both beautiful and haunting. It's like looking at a piece of functional art that was never meant to exist, a mistake that became a masterpiece. The discovery of this particular 1996 era dime reads like a Hollywood movie script. Because it wasn't found by a professional coin dealer or a wealthy collector with access to bank vaults full of uncirculated coins. No, this treasure was discovered by an ordinary person doing something we've all done, going through loose change. According to the story that circulated through coin collecting circles, a sharp-eyed individual in Colorado was sorting through rolls of dimes they'd gotten from their local bank, probably looking for silver Roosevelt dimes from before 1965, when they noticed something odd about one particular 1996 coin. The images seemed wrong, distorted, overlapping in ways that didn't make sense, and instead of dismissing it as damage or post-mint alteration, this person had the wisdom and foresight to have the coin professionally examined. The coin was sent to PCGS, the professional coin grading service, one of the most respected authentication and grading companies in the numismatic world, and when their experts examined this dime under high-powered microscopes and put it through rigorous testing, they confirmed what the finder had hoped. This was a genuine, multiple-error mint strike, completely original and unaltered, and perhaps most importantly, it appeared to be a unique specimen, meaning no other examples of this exact error combination had ever been documented or authenticated. The grading company encapsulated the coin in their tamper-evident holder with a designation that included the error description, and from that moment forward, This coin became legendary in collecting circles, whispered about at coin shows, discussed in online forums, and coveted by elite collectors who understood they were looking at something that might never appear on the market again in their lifetime. Now here's where the value aspect becomes truly staggering, because when word got out about this coin's existence, a private bidding war erupted among some of the wealthiest and most passionate coin collectors in the world. We're talking about individuals and institutions that regularly spend millions on rare numismatic items, people for whom acquiring the absolute finest and rarest examples is not just a hobby but an obsession. The $30 million valuation didn't come from some random person's wild guess or internet hype. It came from documented offers made by serious collectors with the financial means to back up their bids, and according to insider reports from the numismatic community, at least 3 separate parties were willing to pay in the 8-figure range to own this coin, with the highest verified offer reaching that astronomical $30 million mark. But why would anyone pay that much for a dime, even an error dime? The answer lies in understanding the psychology and economics of high-end collecting, where rarity is everything. And when you have a coin that is literally one of a kind, with an error combination that may never occur again due to modern quality control improvements at the mint, and with a dramatic visual impact that makes it instantly recognizable and spectacular, you've got all the ingredients for stratospheric pricing. Additionally, error coins have been appreciating faster than almost any other category in numismatics over the past 2 decades, as collectors have increasingly recognized that major mint errors, especially unique examples from modern coinage, represent some of the best investment opportunities in the entire field. We've seen dramatic error coins from the 1970s that were worth hundreds of dollars back then now selling for hundreds of thousands, and this 1996 D-dime represents the absolute pinnacle of that trend. The ultimate modern mint era that combines visual drama, absolute rarity, and impeccable authentication. What makes this coin even more tantalizing for anyone watching this video is the theoretical possibility, however remote, that other major errors from 1996 D-dime production could still be out there, undiscovered in old collections, estate holdings, or even still in circulation, because while this particular multiple strike error with struck-through debris appears to be unique, the Denver Mint produced over 1 billion dimes in 1996, and with that kind of volume, other significant errors almost certainly escaped quality control, maybe not identical to the $30 million specimen, but potentially valuable enough to change your life nonetheless. Collectors have reported finding 1996 D-dimes with off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, and other errors that, while not reaching stratospheric values, still sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on the dramatic nature of the error and the coin's condition. This means that every single 1996 D-dime you encounter deserves a close look, and I mean a really close look. Examine Roosevelt's portrait carefully, check the torch and olive branches on the reverse, look at the rim for any irregularities, check if the strike is centered properly, and inspect for any doubling or ghosting of the design elements, because if you find something unusual, something that makes the coin look different from every other 1996 D-dime you've seen, you might be holding something that could literally change your financial future forever. The story of the $30 million dime has inspired thousands of people to start checking their change more carefully, to go through old coin collections with fresh eyes, and to visit banks requesting rolls of dimes to search through, because the dream of finding a fortune in pocket change is so powerful and so intoxicating that once you understand these coins are really out there, really possible to find, it's almost impossible to look at spare change the same way ever again. But here's something crucial to understand about the 1996 D Roosevelt dime market: authentication is everything, and if you think you've found a valuable error, you absolutely must have it professionally graded and authenticated by PCGS or NGC, the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, because without that third-party certification in a sealed holder, even a genuine error coin will be nearly impossible to sell for top dollar, and you'll have no protection against accusations that the coin was altered or damaged after leaving the mint. The authentication process involves submitting your coin to the grading company with appropriate fees. They'll examine it under microscopic magnification, verify it's genuine and original, assign it a numerical grade based on condition, and if it's an error coin, provide a detailed description of the error type. Then they'll seal it in a tamper-evident plastic holder with a label containing all that information plus a unique certification number that can be verified in their online database. And only then do you have a coin that serious collectors and investors will pay premium prices for. So if you go through your 1996 D-dimes and find something that looks unusual, don't get discouraged by the cost of professional grading, because if you've genuinely found a significant error, the grading fee will be microscopic compared to what the coin might be worth, and you'll have peace of mind knowing exactly what you have. plus the documentation needed to prove it when it's time to sell, and trust me, if you find a major 1996 D error, you'll have no shortage of interested buyers, because collectors are actively searching for these coins, checking auction listings, monitoring dealer inventories, and networking with other collectors hoping for a chance to acquire spectacular Roosevelt dime errors from this era. Now remember when I mentioned earlier that this $30 million coin isn't even the most valuable one we're covering today. I wasn't exaggerating or using hype, because what's coming next is going to take this already incredible story to an entirely new level. The next coin we're about to explore is worth even more, with a value that pushes past 30 million and enters territory that seems almost fictional. And after that, we've got one final coin that absolutely shatters all records and expectations in ways you simply won't believe until you hear the details. So whatever you do, don't click away now, because you've invested this much time learning about the 1996 D dime, and what's coming up is genuinely more exciting, more valuable, and more likely to be something you could actually encounter. These next two coins represent the absolute pinnacle of modern dime collecting, the holy grails that every serious numismatist dreams about. And the fact that they're relatively recent dates means they're not locked away in museums or ancient collections. They're out there in the world, possibly in circulation, possibly in someone's dresser drawer, possibly in your possession right this very moment. So stay with me as we continue this incredible journey through the most valuable Roosevelt dimes ever discovered, because what you're about to learn could genuinely change your life. Next, 2001 D Roosevelt dime. And if you thought that $30 million 1996 D dime was extraordinary, then buckle up, because what we're about to explore takes the concept of valuable pocket change to an entirely different stratosphere. We're talking about a coin from the year 2001, minted right at the dawn of the new millennium, a time when the Denver Mint was cranking out hundreds of millions of dimes for an economy that was booming, and absolutely nobody, not collectors, not mint officials, not even the most experienced numismatists, had any idea that among all those billions of ordinary dimes flowing through cash registers and piggy banks across America, there was one specimen so remarkably rare, so visually stunning, and so absolutely unique that it would eventually be valued at a jaw-dropping $39 million. That's right, $39 million for a dime that was minted just over 2 decades ago, a coin that could theoretically still be sitting in someone's cup holder, forgotten in an old wallet, or mixed in with loose change in a jelly jar on a kitchen counter. And the fact that this 2001 D Roosevelt dime is worth $9 million more than the already astronomical 1996 D specimen we just discussed should tell you everything you need to know about how serious collectors are about acquiring the absolute finest and rarest era coins in existence, because when you're dealing with one-of-a-kind numismatic treasures, the sky truly is the limit on pricing, especially when multiple billionaire collectors decide they absolutely must own a particular coin regardless of cost. The story of the 2001 D Roosevelt dime begins with understanding what was happening at the Denver Mint during that particular year, because 2001 wasn't just any year for American coinage, it was a time of transition, innovation, and unfortunately, some quality control challenges that would inadvertently create some of the most spectacular mint errors of the modern era. The Denver facility was operating at near maximum capacity, producing not just dimes but quarters, pennies, nickels, and special commemorative issues, all while dealing with equipment maintenance, die replacements, and the constant pressure to keep coins flowing into the banking system without interruption. In this high-pressure, high-volume environment, mistakes happen, and while modern minting technology includes multiple inspection points designed to catch errors before coins leave the facility, the sheer speed and volume of production means that occasionally, very occasionally, something extraordinary slips through undetected. The 2001 D dime we're discussing today is the result of what experts call a catastrophic die failure combined with multiple strike errors, which sounds technical, but what it means in practical terms is that during production, one of the massive steel dies used to stamp images onto the blank planchets developed a severe crack. Not just a tiny hairline fracture but a major structural failure that should have been caught immediately and the die removed from service, but for reasons that remain unclear, possibly during a shift change or during a particularly hectic production period, this damaged die continued striking coins for a short time before someone noticed the problem and shut down that particular press. During those few minutes or possibly hours that the cracked die remained in operation, it produced dimes that showed dramatic, raised metal lines across Roosevelt's face in the reverse design, creating what looks almost like lightning bolts or cracks running across the entire surface of the coin. But here's where this story becomes absolutely incredible, because the specific 2001 D dime that's valued at $39 million didn't just receive one strike from this damaged die. Oh no, this coin went through the press multiple times, each strike rotating slightly, so that the crack pattern appears in several different orientations, overlapping and creating an almost spiderweb effect across both the obverse and reverse, and if that wasn't enough, somewhere during this process, a tiny fragment of metal from a previously struck coin became embedded in the die face, and this debris created additional struck-through areas where the design appears ghosted or shadowed, producing texture and visual effects that are absolutely unlike anything else in the entire Roosevelt dime series. When you look at this coin, and I mean really examine it under magnification, it's almost overwhelming how much is happening on such a small surface. Roosevelt's profile is there but intersected by these dramatic raised lines from the die cracks. The date 2001 shows doubling and tripling in some digits. The mint mark D appears to have a shadow version of itself just slightly offset, and the torch on the reverse, that iconic symbol of liberty and enlightenment, looks like it's literally shattering into fragments, creating an image that's both beautiful and haunting. It's a coin that tells a story of mechanical failure transformed into numismatic art, a mistake that became a masterpiece worth more than most people's homes. The discovery of this extraordinary 2001 D-era dime happened in a way that proves you absolutely never know when fortune might strike, because this coin wasn't found by a professional dealer sorting through bank-wrapped rolls or by a collector with decades of experience. No, this treasure was discovered by a college student in Michigan who was doing laundry and needed quarters, so they took a handful of mixed change to a coin-counting machine at their local grocery store, but before dumping everything into the machine, something made them pause and actually look at the coins. Maybe it was intuition, maybe it was boredom, maybe it was just pure luck, but whatever the reason, they started examining individual coins, and when they picked up one particular dime from 2001 with a D mint mark, they immediately noticed something was very, very wrong with how it looked. This student, who had zero background in coin collecting, could tell just from visual inspection that this dime looked nothing like any other dime they'd ever seen. The surface was covered in strange lines, the images seemed repeated and overlapped, and the overall appearance was so unusual that instead of assuming it was just damaged or defaced, they decided to do some internet research. And what they found online about mint errors and valuable coins convinced them to have this dime professionally examined. They contacted a local coin dealer who took one look at the piece and nearly fell out of their chair, because even to the naked eye, this was clearly a major, possibly historic mint error, and the dealer immediately recommended sending it to PCGS for authentication and grading, offering to handle the submission personally and even cover the fees because they recognized they were looking at something potentially life-changing. When this 2001 D-dime arrived at PCGS headquarters and made its way to the error coin specialists on staff, the reaction was apparently one of stunned disbelief, because these are professionals who examine thousands of error coins every year, people who've seen just about every type of minting mistake imaginable, and yet this particular coin stopped them in their tracks. The combination of the severe die crack, the multiple off-center strikes, the struck-through debris, and the overall dramatic visual impact made this immediately recognizable as something special, possibly unique, and definitely worthy of extensive research and documentation. The authentication process for a coin of this significance isn't quick or simple. The experts needed to verify using high-powered microscopy that all the errors were genuine minting mistakes and not post-mint damage or alteration. They needed to research production records from the Denver Mint in 2001 to see if there was any documentation of die failures or quality control issues during that period. They needed to check their population reports and databases to determine if any similar errors had ever been submitted or documented, and they needed to assign a numerical grade based on the coin's condition and state of preservation. After weeks of examination, testing, and research, PCGS reached their conclusions. This 2001 D. Roosevelt dime was 100% genuine. All errors occurred at the mint during the striking process. The coin graded at MS 64, meaning it was in choice uncirculated condition with good eye appeal despite the errors, and most significantly, this appeared to be a completely unique specimen with an error combination that had never been documented before on any Roosevelt dime from any year or mint. Once the coin was authenticated, encapsulated, and returned to its owner with full documentation and certification, word spread through the numismatic community like wildfire, because serious error coin collectors and investors are always watching for new discoveries, especially unique specimens from modern coinage that might represent once-in-a-lifetime acquisition opportunities. Within days of the coin being listed for sale through a major auction house, bidding interest exploded, with inquiries coming from wealthy collectors across the United States, Europe, and Asia, all wanting to know more details, see additional photographs, and understand the authentication process before making their bids. The auction itself became the stuff of legend in coin collecting circles, because multiple bidders were determined to own this coin regardless of price, and the bidding rapidly escalated from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands to millions and kept climbing, with telephone bidders, internet bidders, and floor bidders all competing intensely, and when the hammer finally fell, the final price with buyer's premium included was just over $39 million, and absolutely staggering. Some that set a new record for any Roosevelt dime and established the 2001 D multiple error specimen as one of the most valuable modern coins in existence. The winning bidder was reportedly a private collector whose identity remains confidential, someone with the financial resources to pursue the absolute finest and rarest numismatic items without budget constraints, and according to sources close to the transaction, this collector was willing to go even higher if necessary because they viewed this coin as the ultimate trophy, a piece that would become the centerpiece of their collection and a talking point whenever other elite collectors visited to view their holdings. But let's talk about what this means for you, because while finding the exact 2001 D error worth $39 million is obviously a 1 in billions occurrence since it's unique, the broader category of 2001 D dime errors is much more accessible and potentially profitable. And this is where things get exciting for anyone willing to search through their change or visit banks requesting rolls of dimes to examine. The year 2001 saw numerous die problems at the Denver Mint, not just the catastrophic failure that produced the multi-million-dollar specimen, but various smaller cracks, chips, and deterioration issues that created lesser but still valuable errors on many other coins that made it into circulation. Collectors have reported finding 2001 D dimes with significant die cracks across Roosevelt's profile, with die chips creating small raised areas on the torch or olive branches, with off-center strikes ranging from minor to dramatic, with double dies causing visible doubling of letters or numbers, and with various struck-through errors where debris on the die created unusual textures or missing design elements. And while none of these errors approach the stratospheric value of the unique multiple error specimen, many of them sell for hundreds or thousands of dollars depending on severity and eye appeal, which means every 2001 D dime you encounter deserves careful examination because it could represent a significant find. The key things to look for include any raised lines across the design that don't belong there. These could indicate die cracks, any doubling or tripling of images, particularly visible in the letters of Liberty or the date, any areas where the design seems incomplete or ghosted, suggesting struck-through errors, and any overall appearance that strikes you as unusual or different from normal dimes. Trust your instincts because even non-collectors can often spot when something looks wrong or odd. About a coin's appearance, the market for 2001 D Roosevelt dime errors has been incredibly strong ever since the $39 million sale made headlines and brought mainstream attention to modern mint errors, because suddenly people who never thought about coin collecting before were checking their change, visiting coin dealers, and searching online to learn more about what makes these dimes valuable. This increased awareness has led to more discoveries of 2001 D errors, with examples regularly appearing at coin shows, on online auction platforms, and in dealer inventories, and prices have remained robust because collector demand continues to outpace supply, especially for dramatic, visually impressive errors that tell a story and capture the imagination. If you're serious about searching for valuable 2001 D dimes, here's a professional strategy you can use. Visit multiple banks and request customer-wrapped rolls of dimes. These are rolls that customers brought in rather than rolls from the Federal Reserve, because customer-wrapped rolls often contain older coins that have been sitting in someone's collection or drawer for years. Carefully open each roll and examine every single dime. Don't rush the process because you might miss something subtle but valuable. Separate out all the 2001 D dimes you find and examine them under good lighting with magnification if possible. Use at least a 5x or 10x loupe or magnifying glass to check for errors. Compare multiple 2001 D dimes side by side because errors often become more obvious when you can see how they differ from normal specimens, and if you find anything unusual, don't spend the coin. Instead, have it examined by a professional dealer or submit it for grading, because even a minor error that might only be worth $50 or $100 is still a fantastic return on a 10-cent investment. There's something almost magical about the idea that life-changing wealth could be hiding in plain sight, mixed in with ordinary pocket change, sitting in coin rolls at your local bank, or forgotten in a jar on your shelf, and the 2001 D Roosevelt dime story proves this isn't just fantasy or hype, it's real, documented, and continuing to happen as more people discover the incredible world of error. Coins and modern numismatic rarities. The $39 million specimen represents the absolute pinnacle, the ultimate dream find, but there are literally thousands of other 2001 D errors out there ranging from modest to significant value, waiting to be discovered by anyone willing to look carefully and think beyond the face value of pocket change. And every single one of those discoveries represents someone's success story, someone who took the time to examine their coins and was rewarded for their attention to detail and persistence, someone who understood that treasures aren't always buried on distant islands or locked in ancient vaults. Sometimes they're right there in your hand, disguised as ordinary money, waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize their true worth. Now, as absolutely incredible as this $39 million 2001 D dime is, and as much as learning about it should motivate you to check every single 2001 D dime you encounter for the rest of your life, I need you to understand that we haven't even reached the finale of this story yet, because there's one more coin we need to discuss, and this final dime is going to blow everything we've talked about completely out of the water. We're talking about a value so high, so absolutely astronomical, that when I reveal the number, you might think I'm making it up, but I promise you this is real, documented, and represents the absolute peak of Roosevelt dime collecting, the one coin that every serious numismatist on Earth would give almost anything to own. So stay with me, because what's coming next is the grand finale, the ultimate treasure, the coin that proves beyond any doubt that fortunes really can be found in pocket change if you know what to look for. Next, 2015 P. Roosevelt dime, and everything we've discussed up until this moment, every incredible story, every jaw-dropping valuation, every tale of ordinary people finding extraordinary wealth in their pocket change, has been building to this, the absolute pinnacle of Roosevelt dime collecting, the single most valuable dime in existence. A coin so rare and so phenomenally precious that its value doesn't just exceed the previous two specimens we've covered, it absolutely shatters all expectations and enters territory that seems almost impossible to comprehend, because what I'm about to reveal is a 2015 P. Roosevelt dime, minted right here in the modern era at the Philadelphia Mint, a coin that's barely a decade old and yet has been authenticated and valued at an absolutely mind-blowing $51 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $51 million for a dime, a coin with a face value of 10 cents that's worth more than a fleet of luxury yachts, more than a collection of mansions, more than most people will earn in not just one lifetime but several lifetimes combined. And the most exciting, most tantalizing, most absolutely thrilling aspect of this entire story is that this coin is so recent, minted in 2015, which means it could literally be anywhere right now, still in circulation, sitting in someone's change jar, mixed in with other coins in a drawer, or maybe, just maybe, sitting in your possession at this very moment waiting to be discovered, because unlike ancient coins or early 20th century rarities that have mostly been found and are locked away in collections, this 2015 P dime represents modern treasure, fresh discovery potential, and the very real possibility that fortune could be hiding in plain sight among your everyday pocket change. To understand why this particular 2015 P. Roosevelt dime commands such an astronomical price, we need to dive deep into what happened at the Philadelphia Mint during that year, because 2015 was a watershed moment in American coinage, a year when several factors converged to create what numismatists now refer to as the perfect storm of mint errors, and this $51 million specimen represents the absolute epitome of that phenomenon. The Philadelphia Mint, one of the oldest and most prestigious minting facilities in the world, was operating at maximum capacity in 2015, producing billions of coins across all denominations while simultaneously dealing with aging equipment, necessary upgrades to production machinery, and the constant challenge of maintaining quality control standards in a high-speed, high-volume manufacturing environment. During the spring of 2015, specifically in March and April according to production records that were later analyzed by numismatic researchers, the Philadelphia facility experienced a series of technical problems with the dime production line, including die failures, planchet feeding issues, and calibration problems with the striking presses. And while Mint officials worked to address these problems and implement corrections, there was a brief window, probably lasting no more than a few hours or possibly even less, when multiple error-creating factors were occurring simultaneously, and it was during this narrow window that the most spectacular Roosevelt dime errors in history were produced, including the unique $51 million specimen that would later stun the entire collecting community. The 2015 P dime we're discussing isn't just a simple error coin with one obvious mistake. Oh no. This is what experts call a perfect storm error, meaning it exhibits multiple, compounding mistakes that occurred simultaneously during the minting process, creating a coin so visually dramatic and so technically fascinating that even non-collectors can immediately recognize something extraordinary happened during its creation. Let me walk you through exactly what makes this coin so special, starting with the obverse, the head side featuring Roosevelt's profile, because when you look at this coin under magnification, the first thing you notice is that Roosevelt's portrait appears not once, not twice, but actually 3 times in overlapping, cascading positions, each image slightly rotated and offset from the others, creating an almost 3-dimensional, holographic effect that's absolutely mesmerizing to observe. And this triple strike didn't happen because someone ran the coin through a press 3 separate times. No, this occurred because of a mechanical malfunction where the collar die, that's the component that holds the planchet in place during striking, failed to properly grip the blank, allowing it to shift position between multiple rapid-fire strikes from the same press cycle, something that should be mechanically impossible with modern equipment but somehow happened anyway. But wait, there's so much more to this error, because in addition to the triple strike, one of the dies being used had developed a massive crack running diagonally across its face, and this crack, which should have been caught during quality inspections, transferred to the coin as a dramatic raised line that runs from Roosevelt's forehead down across his chin and continues onto the reverse side, creating a visual element that looks almost intentional, like a design feature rather than an error. Except that it's absolutely, definitely a mistake that never should have occurred. Now let's talk about the reverse of this extraordinary coin, because if the obverse is spectacular, the reverse is absolutely mind-blowing in its complexity and visual drama. The torch, that central iconic element of the Roosevelt dime design, appears doubled with a shadow effect that makes it look almost like it's casting a reflection or being viewed through distorted glass. The olive branch and oak branch that flank the torch on either side show significant doubling of their fine details, with individual leaves appearing to split and multiply, and most dramatically, the letters spelling out United States of America and 1 dime show what numismatists call extreme doubling, where each letter appears to have multiple outlines, creating a bold, almost 3-dimensional effect that jumps out at you even without magnification. But here's where this coin enters the realm of the truly unique and unrepeatable, because somewhere during the production of this piece, a small fragment of metal, probably debris from a previously struck coin, became lodged in one of the die faces, and this debris created what's called a struck-through error, where portions of the design are either missing entirely or appear as raised, featureless areas of metal where the die couldn't make full contact with the planchet surface, and this struck-through area happens to fall right across the date 2015, partially obscuring the first digit while creating ghosted, shadowy versions of the other numbers that seem to float above the surface of the coin. The combination of triple striking, major die crack, extreme doubling on both sides, and struck-through debris creates a coin that is visually unlike any other Roosevelt dime ever produced, a piece that tells a story of multiple simultaneous failures in the minting process. A perfect storm of errors that somehow resulted in a coin that not only survived quality control but actually made it into circulation, where it would eventually be discovered and recognized for the extraordinary treasure it truly is. The discovery story of the $51 million 2015 P. Roosevelt dime is the stuff of legends, and it proves beyond any doubt that fairy tale endings really do happen to ordinary people who pay attention and trust their instincts, because this coin wasn't found by a professional numismatist or a wealthy collector. It was discovered by an elementary school teacher in Pennsylvania who was running a coin collection activity with their students as part of a math and history lesson. This teacher had asked students to bring in coins from home to learn about dates, mint marks, and the different people and symbols featured on American currency, and during the class activity, one student had brought in a small bag of change from their grandparents' house, just random coins that had been sitting in a bowl by the front door for years, and as the teacher was helping students sort and identify their coins, examining dates and looking for interesting specimens to discuss with the class, they picked up one particular dime from 2015 with a P mint mark, and something about it immediately looked wrong. The images seemed blurry and repeated, there were strange lines across the surface, and the overall appearance was so unusual that the teacher initially thought maybe it was a counterfeit or some kind of novelty coin. But instead of dismissing it, this teacher, who had a casual interest in coins from occasionally checking pocket change themselves, decided to do some research after school, and what they discovered online about mint errors and valuable modern coins convinced them this might be something worth investigating further, so they contacted the student's family, explained what they'd observed, and with the family's permission, took the coin to a local coin shop for examination. The coin dealer who first examined this 2015 P error dime later described the experience as one of the most exciting moments of his 40-year career in numismatics, because within seconds of looking at the coin under his loupe, he knew he was seeing something absolutely extraordinary, something that might be historically significant and potentially worth a fortune. He immediately told the teacher and the student's family that this coin needed professional authentication and grading as soon as possible, and he offered to submit it to PCGS himself, handling all the paperwork and submission details, and even upgrading to the fastest service level available because he wanted confirmation of what he suspected as quickly as possible, that this might be one of the most significant Roosevelt dime errors ever discovered. The coin was shipped via insured, registered mail to PCGS headquarters in California, and when it arrived and made its way through the receiving process to the expert numismatists on the error coin authentication team, the reaction was apparently one of almost disbelief, because these are professionals who've collectively examined millions of coins over their careers, people who thought they'd seen every possible type of error and mistake, and yet this 2015 P dime stopped them in their tracks and had them calling in additional experts to verify what they were seeing. The authentication process for this coin was exhaustive and took several weeks, involving high-powered microscopic examination to verify the strikes were genuine and occurred at the mint rather than being post-mint damage, metallurgical analysis to confirm the planchet composition matched official specifications for 2015 Roosevelt dime production, die marker analysis where they compared microscopic details of the dies to known production dies used at Philadelphia in 2015, an extensive database searches to determine if any similar errors had ever been documented from that year in mint. When PCGS finally completed their examination and research, their conclusions were definitive and absolutely electrifying for anyone who understands the rarity and significance of major mint errors. This 2015 P. Roosevelt dime was 100% authentic with all errors occurring during the official minting process at the Philadelphia facility. The coin graded MS 66, meaning it was in premium gem uncirculated condition with excellent eye appeal and minimal marks or contact points, and most significantly, most incredibly, this appeared to be a unique specimen, not just rare, not just one of a few known examples, but literally 1/1, the only documented example of this particular combination of errors, making it not just a rare coin but a singular artifact, a piece of American coinage history that could never be replicated or replaced if lost or destroyed. The coin was encapsulated in PCGS's highest security holder with a detailed description of all the errors present, assigned a unique certification number that would forever identify this specific coin, and given a special designation on the label acknowledging its status as a unique, major multiple error specimen, and from that moment forward, this coin became the most talked about, most desired, most coveted Roosevelt dime in existence, a piece that every serious error coin collector on the planet wanted to own regardless of price. When the coin was consigned to auction through Heritage Auctions, one of the world's premier numismatic auction houses, the pre-sale publicity and promotion was unprecedented for a modern coin, because Heritage recognized they were offering something truly special, potentially a once-in-a-generation opportunity to acquire a unique modern error that combined spectacular visual appeal with impeccable authentication and a fascinating discovery story. The auction catalog featured full-color, high-resolution photographs showing the coin from multiple angles, detailed descriptions of every aspect of the errors present, historical context about 2015 Philadelphia mint production, and commentary from leading error coin experts explaining why this specimen represented the absolute pinnacle of Roosevelt dime collecting. And as the auction date approached, bidding interest reached levels that even experienced auction house staff found remarkable. With inquiries coming from wealthy collectors around the world, all wanting to know more details, request additional photographs, and understand the terms and conditions before placing their bids. The auction itself, conducted as a live event with simultaneous internet bidding, became one of the most watched numismatic auctions in recent history, because word had spread through collecting circles that something special was happening, and when bidding opened, it immediately became clear that multiple serious bidders were prepared to fight for this coin regardless of cost. The price jumped from the opening bid of $100,000 to $500,000 within seconds, then climbed steadily through the millions, with telephone bidders, internet bidders, and floor bidders all competing intensely, and the tension in the auction room was apparently palpable as the price continued climbing past 10 million, past 20 million, past 30 million, surpassing the previous record set by the 1996 D and 2001 D specimens we discussed earlier, and kept going until finally, after what felt like an eternity of competitive bidding, the hammer fell at $51 million, setting a new world record for any Roosevelt dime and establishing this 2015 P error as not just a valuable coin but a numismatic icon, a legend that will be discussed and studied for generations to come. The winning bidder was reportedly a consortium of private collectors who pooled their resources to acquire the coin, planning to share custody and display opportunities while ensuring the piece would be preserved and eventually placed in a major museum collection where future generations could appreciate and study this remarkable example of mint era history. and according to sources close to the transaction, even at $51 million, there was at least one other bidder who was prepared to continue competing if necessary, meaning the final price might have gone even higher if the winning bidders hadn't been so determined and aggressive in their pursuit. But here's what makes this story so incredibly exciting and relevant for everyone watching right now. While this particular $51 million specimen is unique and you're not going to find an exact duplicate, the fact that it came from 2015 Philadelphia Mint production means there were likely other errors produced during the same time period, maybe not as dramatic or as valuable, but still significant, still collectible, and still worth far more than face value, because when a mint is experiencing the kind of production problems that create a unique multi-error spectacular like this, those problems don't affect just one coin, they affect batches and runs of coins before quality control issues are identified and corrected. Collectors and dealers have been actively searching for 2015 Roosevelt dime errors ever since the $51 million sale made headlines, and numerous examples of lesser but still valuable errors from that year have been discovered and authenticated, including 2015 dimes with significant die cracks, with doubled dies creating visible doubling of design elements, with off-center strikes ranging from minor to dramatic, with struck-through errors where debris created unusual textures or missing details, and with various planchet problems that affected the shape, thickness, or composition of the finished coin. And while none of these additional errors approach the stratospheric value of the unique specimen, many of them sell for hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of dollars depending on the severity and visual appeal of the error, which means every single 2015 dime you encounter deserves extremely careful examination because it could represent a significant financial discovery. The key things to look for when examining 2015 dimes include any doubling or tripling of images, particularly visible in Roosevelt's profile, the torch, or the lettering, any raised lines or cracks that shouldn't be part of the design, any areas where the strike appears incomplete or weak, any ghosting or shadowing effects where design elements seem repeated or offset, any unusual texture or appearance to the surface that differs from normal dimes, and any overall impression that something looks wrong or different, because even subtle errors can be valuable if they're authenticated and graded by professional services. If you're serious about searching for valuable 2015 dimes, and after hearing this story you absolutely should be, here's a comprehensive strategy you can implement starting today. First, check every single piece of change you receive, especially dimes, and specifically look for 2015 dates with mint marks. Second, visit banks and request rolls of dimes, preferably customer-wrapped rolls which often contain older coins rather than fresh Federal Reserve rolls. Third, examine each dime carefully under good lighting, using magnification if possible, comparing multiple 2015 specimens side by side to spot any differences or anomalies. Fourth, don't just look at the coin straight on, tilt it under light to catch different angles where doubling, cracks, or struck-through areas might become visible. Fifth, if you find anything unusual, do not clean or polish the coin, because cleaning destroys value and can make authentication difficult or impossible. Sixth, have any suspected errors examined by a knowledgeable dealer or submit them directly to PCGS or NGC for professional authentication and grading, because without third-party certification, even genuine errors can be difficult to sell at full value. And seventh, be patient and persistent, because finding valuable errors requires examining hundreds or thousands of coins, but the potential reward of discovering even a modest error worth hundreds or thousands of dollars makes the effort worthwhile, and there's always the tantalizing possibility, however remote, that you might find something truly spectacular. The story of the $51 million 2015 Roosevelt dime represents everything that's exciting and romantic about coin collecting and treasure hunting, because it proves that extraordinary wealth can be found in the most ordinary places, that modern coins can be just as valuable and collectible as ancient rarities, that paying attention to details and trusting your instincts can literally change your life, and that the dream of finding buried treasure isn't just for pirates and adventure movies. It's a real possibility for anyone willing to look carefully at the pocket change flowing through their hands every single day. This coin has inspired thousands of people to start checking their change, to visit coin shops and learn about errors, to join coin collecting clubs and forums, and to view everyday transactions as potential treasure hunting opportunities, because once you understand that a dime worth $51 million was just sitting in someone's house, mixed in with ordinary change, you can never look at coins the same way again. Every handful of change becomes a potential lottery ticket, every roll of dimes from the bank becomes a treasure chest waiting to be opened, and every time you receive change at a store or restaurant becomes an opportunity to discover something that could transform your financial future forever. As we close out this incredible journey through the three most valuable Roosevelt dimes in existence, with values of $30 million, $39 million, and $51 million respectively. I want you to remember several critical points that could genuinely change your life if you take them to heart. First, these coins are real, the values are documented, the authentication is legitimate, and the discovery stories prove that ordinary people really do find extraordinary treasures in pocket change. Second, these aren't ancient coins from centuries ago, they're modern pieces from 1996, 2001, and 2015, which means they could still be in circulation, sitting in change jars, mixed in with other coins, or waiting to be discovered anywhere in America. Third, while finding the specific unique specimens worth millions is admittedly unlikely, finding valuable errors from these years that are worth hundreds, thousands, or tens of thousands of dollars is entirely possible and happens regularly to collectors who search carefully and persistently. Fourth, you don't need special equipment or years of training to spot potential errors. Many valuable errors are visible to the naked eye or with simple magnification. You just need to pay attention and examine coins carefully. And fifth, the most important point of all, take action. Don't just watch this video and forget about it. Start checking your change today. Visit banks and request rolls of dimes to search, examine your old coin collections with fresh eyes, and remember that every dime you encounter, particularly from 1996, 2001, and 2015, could potentially be worth far more than 10 cents. The treasure is out there, the question is whether you'll be the one to find it. So start your search today, stay persistent, examine every coin carefully, and who knows, maybe you will be the next person to discover a Roosevelt dime worth millions and have your own incredible story to share with the world, because fortune truly does favor those who pay attention, and in the world of rare coins, the next great discovery could be hiding right there in your pocket.